Money talks, but success speaks louder. Sometimes the best revenge is simply becoming unstoppable. Let me tell you about the day my world crashed down, and how that crash became the foundation for everything I built afterward. My name is Mike Thompson, and 3 years ago, I thought I had it all figured out. I was 35, a decent software developer, making 75 grand a year in Seattle, and completely head over heels for Amy Martinez. She was everything I thought I wanted. Stunning, ambitious, and had this way of making me feel like I was the only person in the room when she smiled at me. We'd been together for 2 years, and I was already picking out engagement rings. Amy worked in event planning for high-end corporate clients, which meant she rubbed shoulders with some seriously wealthy people. Tech executives, real estate moguls, venture capitalists, the kind of people who threw around money like confetti. At first, I thought it was cute how impressed she'd get talking about these clients and their lifestyles. She'd come home telling me about someone's yacht or their third vacation home in Aspen. I figured it was just natural curiosity about how the other half lived. But something started changing about 6 months before everything fell apart. Amy became distant, always checking her phone, making excuses to work late events. When I'd suggest we grab dinner at our favorite little Italian place, she'd wrinkle her nose and suggest somewhere more upscale instead. Places where the appetizers cost more than our usual entire meal. The night she destroyed my world started like any other. I'd made reservations at this new steakhouse downtown. Not cheap, but I wanted to surprise her. I was planning to finally pop the question. The ring was in my jacket pocket, and my hands were literally shaking with nervous excitement. Amy showed up 20 minutes late, which should have been my first red flag. She barely touched her food, kept checking her phone, and seemed like she was anywhere but there with me. Then she hit me with it. "Mike, we need to talk. This isn't working anymore." Just like that. No build-up, no gentle letdown. Like she was canceling a subscription service. I stared at her, fork halfway to my mouth, completely blindsided. "What do you mean this isn't working? Amy, I was about to..." "I've been seeing someone else." She cut me off, not even having the decency to look guilty about it. "His name is Richard Blackstone. He's a venture capitalist, and he's everything you're not." The words hit like physical blows. Everything I'm not? Amy's expression turned almost pitying, which somehow made it worse. "Mike, you're a nice guy, but let's be realistic. You're 35 and still renting an apartment. Richard owns properties in 4 states. You drive a Honda Civic that's older than some college students. He has a Tesla and a Porsche." Some college students. He has a Tesla and a Porsche. You think a fancy dinner is spending $60 at a chain restaurant? Each comparison was like a knife twisting deeper, but she wasn't done. "I want more than this mediocre middle-class life. I want someone who can give me experiences, travel, security. I want someone who's already made it, not someone who's still trying to figure it out." I sat there in stunned silence as she grabbed her purse and stood up. "I'm sorry, Mike. I really am. But I can't waste any more of my prime years waiting for you to become someone you're never going to be." And just like that, she was gone. I sat alone at that table for another hour, staring at the engagement ring I'd never gotten to give her, feeling like the biggest fool who ever lived. The next few weeks were brutal. Amy moved in with Richard almost immediately, and suddenly her social media was full of pictures from expensive restaurants, weekend trips to wine country, and shopping sprees that probably cost more than my monthly salary. But here's where the story gets interesting. Because about a month after the breakup, I made a discovery that changed everything. I was having a beer with my buddy Jake, trying to drown my sorrows and move on, when he showed me something on his phone. It was a news article about a prominent Seattle businessman named Richard Blackstone being investigated for financial fraud. But that wasn't the kicker. Being investigated for financial fraud. But that wasn't the kicker. The kicker was the family photo accompanying the article. Richard Blackstone with his wife of 15 years and their 2 teenage kids. Amy's millionaire boyfriend was married. Not divorced, not separated, married with a family. And judging by the timeline of their relationship, she was nothing more than his side piece. That revelation should have made me feel vindicated, but instead, it just made me angry. Angry at Amy for throwing away what we had for a lie. Angry at myself for not being enough to keep her. But mostly, I was angry at the situation that made me feel so powerless. That's when I decided to channel that anger into something productive. I'd been working on a side project for months, a productivity app that used AI to help remote teams coordinate projects more efficiently. It was good, maybe even great, but I'd been too comfortable in my day job to really push it forward. Not anymore. I started working 18-hour days. I'd come home from my regular job and code until 2 in the morning. Weekends disappeared entirely. I lived on coffee, determination, and the burning need to prove that Amy had made the biggest mistake of her life. The app I created was called SyncSpace, and it solved a real problem that every remote team faced. Within 3 months of launching, I had 5,000 users. Within 6 months, that number hit 50,000. That's when the venture capital firms started calling. 50,000. That's when the venture capital firms started calling. Ironically, one of the first VCs to reach out was from Richard Blackstone's firm. I declined that meeting for obvious reasons, but it felt like the universe was playing some cosmic joke. Instead, I went with Meridian Capital, a firm known for backing ethical, sustainable tech companies. They offered me $2.5 million for a 30% stake in SyncSpace. I said yes. Overnight, I went from a $75,000 a year developer to a millionaire. But the real validation came when the tech blogs started picking up the story. Forbes wrote a feature about me titled, "The Overnight Success That Took Years to Build." TechCrunch called SyncSpace the productivity tool that's changing how America works. Then came the morning that made everything worth it. I was getting ready for a television interview with CNBC about the future of remote work technology, when my phone started buzzing with notifications. Jake was texting me frantically. "Dude, turn on Channel 7 News right now." I flipped on the TV just in time to see a breaking news story about Richard Blackstone being arrested for embezzling funds from his clients' investment portfolios. The man Amy had left me for wasn't just married. He was a criminal who'd been stealing money to fund his lavish lifestyle. But that wasn't even the best part. His lavish lifestyle, but that wasn't even the best part. Later that evening, during my CNBC interview, the host introduced me as one of the most promising young entrepreneurs in the Pacific Northwest, whose innovative app has attracted millions in venture capital funding. I was professional, articulate, and talked about my vision for the future of workplace technology. I looked successful because I was successful, But more importantly, I looked happy because I genuinely was. The interview aired at 6 p.m. on a Thursday. By 6:30, my phone was ringing. It was Amy. "Mike? Oh my God, I just saw you on TV. I can't believe. When did all this happen? Why didn't you tell me you were working on something so big?" Her voice had that same tone she used to use when she was trying to get something from me. Sweet and manipulative at the same time. "Hello, Amy. I've been working on this for over a year. You were just too busy with Richard to notice." There was a long pause. "Mike, about Richard. Things didn't work out. It turns out he wasn't who I thought he was." "You mean he wasn't actually available?" Another pause. Longer this time. "You knew?" "I found out about his wife and kids about a week after you left me for him." "And you didn't tell me?" I almost laughed. "Amy, you made it very clear that my opinions weren't valuable to you anymore. Why would I think you'd want my advice about your new relationship?" "Mike, listen, I made a mistake. A huge mistake." "Relationship? Mike, listen, I made a mistake. A huge mistake. I was confused and scared about the future, and I thought I needed someone who was already established. But seeing you now, seeing what you've accomplished, I realize I should have believed in you, in us." "Should have believed in me?" I repeated. "Amy, I was the same person then that I am now. The only thing that's changed is my bank account." "That's not true. You're more confident now, more driven." "I was always driven. You just never bothered to notice because I wasn't driving a Porsche." The conversation went on for another 20 minutes, with Amy alternating between apologies and attempts to downplay what she'd done. She wanted to meet for coffee, to talk about everything. She missed me. She realized now that money wasn't everything. She wanted to see if we could start over. I listened to all of it with a strange sort of detachment. Like watching a movie I'd seen too many times. "Amy," I finally said, "I appreciate the apology. I really do. But here's the thing. You didn't leave me because we weren't compatible. You didn't leave because we wanted different things out of life. You left because you decided I wasn't worth your time unless I could buy you expensive things." That's exactly what it was. And the fact that you're calling me now, right after seeing me on television, talking about my success, proves that nothing has really changed. Talking about my success proves that nothing has really changed. You still only value people based on what they can do for you financially. I could hear her crying on the other end of the line. Part of me felt bad about that, because despite everything, I had loved her once. The woman I thought I was in love with would have been excited about my dreams, not dismissive of them. She would have wanted to build something together, not wait around for me to become successful enough to deserve her attention. "Mike, please." "I hope you find what you're looking for, Amy. I really do. But it's not going to be with me." I hung up and blocked her number. That was 8 months ago. Since then, SyncSpace has grown to over 200,000 users. We've closed a Series A funding round for $12 million, and I've been featured in 3 major business publications. More importantly, I've started dating someone new. Her name is Sarah. She's a graphic designer, and when I told her about my app idea on our second date, her first question wasn't about how much money it might make. She asked if I thought it would actually help people be more productive and happier at work. That's when I knew I found someone worth my time. I still think about Amy sometimes, usually when I'm working late, and remember how lonely those first few months after the breakup were. But I don't think about her with anger anymore. She taught me something valuable, even if she didn't mean to. Taught me something valuable, even if she didn't mean to. She taught me that my worth as a person isn't determined by someone else's opinion of my financial status. Success isn't about proving anything to people who never believed in you in the first place. Success is about building something meaningful, surrounding yourself with people who see your value regardless of your net worth, and having the confidence to walk away from anyone who doesn't. The best revenge isn't proving someone wrong about you. The best revenge is becoming so genuinely happy and fulfilled that you stop caring whether they think they were wrong or not. Money talks, but character speaks louder. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply refuse to let someone else's shallow values define your self-worth. As for Richard Blackstone, he was sentenced to 6 years in federal prison for fraud and embezzlement. Amy, as far as I know, moved back in with her parents and is working at a different event planning company. I'm not glad that things turned out badly for her. I genuinely hope she learns from her mistakes and finds happiness with someone who shares her values, whatever those end up being. But I'm grateful every single day that she set me free to find someone who actually deserves the man I've become. Sometimes the trash takes itself out, and sometimes the best thing that ever happens to you is getting your heart broken by someone who was never worthy of it in the first place. Was never worthy of it in the first place. The real victory isn't that I'm now wealthier than the man she left me for. The real victory is that I'm happier than I ever was when I was trying to be enough for someone who was never going to appreciate what I had to offer. Success is the sweetest revenge, especially when it's earned honestly. But the sweetest success of all is realizing you don't need revenge anymore because you've built something so much better than what you lost.